Hello, in this video I'm going to be talking about the 3D module, which allows you to use 3D objects in your visuals. So I've already dragged it into my project and connected it to my player, and the first thing I have to do is drop a 3D file or a folder containing 3D files into this area here. So it has to be either a OBJ, DAE or 3ds file. And ZwoBot Suite does come with a bunch of 3D objects that you can use with this. Alternatively, you can download 3D objects from this website, free3d.com. And a lot of these are free. There are some that you can pay for as well. I'll put a link to this in the description. And there's also a website that you can use to convert text to a 3D object, which can be quite good if you want like a lyric or the name of a track or album or your artist's name on screen. So I'll link to that in the description as well. So I'm just going to use mostly the files that come with the ZwoBot Suite. So I'm just going to drag this whole folder onto this square here, and now it's loaded up all of those 3D objects. So we've got this drop down here where we can see them all. Oh, just going to change this to float. So I can switch between these different objects. So let's go with the MF Doom mask. There we go. Okay, so first here we have got the size, which obviously controls the size of the object, and that has a beat control. So the size will change in control of the beat. It's also got sound reactivity controls. Next, we've got the color, which changes the color of the object. That also has a beat control and sound reactivity controls. And there's this button here. It sort of changes the texture of the shape. So if I turn it on, it's a solid color that isn't influenced by whatever's behind it. So this video, I've loaded up a video here. So this kind of 3D object in the background is just a normal video, and this is one that comes with the ZwoBot Suite. So we can see the 3D object is just a solid color there, but if this is put into this mode, you can see it's got some of the video behind it coming through it as well. So the color change is a bit more, slightly more subtle, because the colors that are in the video behind it are also going to impact it. So for now, I'm going to turn this on so we can see it more clearly. And here we've got our normal transparency and blend mode settings, which come with all of the ZwoBot modules. Here we've got this background button, so that'll switch the background on or off. So we can see the video behind it now, and now we can't. But if we turn this color setting I was talking about on, you can still see, sort of see the background coming through the 3D object. Here we have got a grid that controls the position or the angle of the 3D object, so we can move it around manually doing this, and that also has a beat control and sound reactivity controls. With the sound reactivity controls, the sensitivity is controlled with this dial here. Now I'm going to put the beat control on. You'll notice at the bottom here there's 4 settings. So JP is jump, and that means it's going to jump to the next position. Whereas if we go to this one, LI, which is linear, it's going to move in between the 2 positions. So rather than just jump into them, you get a nice smooth transition between them. Here we've got some ease in options, so ease in and ease out. So with linear, the movement from one position to the next is the same, it's a consistent speed. Whereas ease in, the animation starts slowly and then speeds up, and ease out means that the animation starts off quickly and then slows down. So it just adds a bit of subtle difference to the movement and the speed of the movement. And they are also available on the audio reactive settings. Okay, let's put this back to the middle. We've got this shatter control here. So that kind of shatters the 3D object. Let's make it a bit smaller. So as I bring this dial up, it's becoming more and more broken up. And that has a beat control and sound reactive controls as well. And it also has this auto shake setting. So this doesn't do anything. You have to have shatter on in order for it to work. If shatter is turned down to 0, it's not going to do anything because it's linked to this setting. So I'm going to turn this up a bit. And then if I turn auto shake on, you'll see that it automatically creates this shaking effect. And then I can turn it off, but I can have that linked to the beat control. So it's adding this kind of shake movement every beat. And I can also apply that with the audio reactive settings. So if I just play some audio, you can see it's applying that shake effect. Okay, let's turn that off. We've also got this feedback setting, which creates some crazy feedback. There's no settings to dial it down or to change how it works. It's just one setting, on or off. Rotor speed, so this will apply rotation to the object automatically. So you can choose which direction you want it to rotate in with these buttons. So left, right, up, down, or a combination of right and down, or right and up, or left and up, etc. Now it's not going to do anything if the rotation speed is turned to 0, but as soon as you turn the rotation speed up, you can see it starts rotating and it gets faster and faster as I turn that up. And like I say, you can have left and down, left and up, right and up. And this speed dial also has the beat control and the audio reactive settings, so I can put it on a beat control, and now the speed is going to change with the BPM, or I could put sound reactivity on it and the beat will change with, in this case, the lower frequencies. So it's kind of getting faster with the kick in this case. And if you ever find that using those rotation settings, if you want to stop it and you want to get it back to the default position, you can just use this and put it at the bottom left, which will always be your kind of default front-facing position. This controls the texture of the 3D object. So by default, it's on texture, but you can also change it to mesh, which gives it this kind of mesh effect. And there's points, which is like little dots. And I think M and P, I'm assuming, is meant to be mesh and points, but it seems to just be the same as points. So I'm not too sure about that. And then we've got this plus button, so we can extend this. And over here, we've got this weight setting, which will control the weight of the mesh. Now, if you put it on texture mode, it doesn't really affect anything because it's just a texture. But if you put it on mesh mode, we can see as we bring this weight up, it's making the lines of the mesh thicker. And same with the points, it makes those dots bigger. But something to be aware of, the higher your weight is, the more CPU it's going to take up. So you can run into some pretty big performance issues if you have this weight turned up. So I'd recommend, unless you've got a supercomputer, try not to turn it up too high. If it's on texture, you can just keep it at 0 because it doesn't really make a difference. We've also got these rotate options. So this is just more options for rotation, and again they've got sound reactivity controls, so I could have the X rotation reacting to the lows and the Y rotation reacting to the highs. and you can see that this is reflected here. So here we've got some settings which are new for this 2.9 version. This isn't live yet, but it will be going live soon. And this allows you to apply this tiles setting, so you can create tiles of your 3D object. And this also, as you can see, has the beat controls and sound reactivity. And there's also this shift setting, which controls sort of where the object is displayed within those tiles. So you can have them move. So if I just set this to 3 for now, with this shift button you can change where they're positioned. And this also has the beat control and sound reactivity, so you can have it move around. And there's also this setting here, and when you turn this button on, it changes the mode of this tiles setting. So when it's off, the object just stays within those, in this case, 9 tiles, and you're just moving it around within those tiles, whereas this splits the object amongst the tiles. So at 0, it's just normal, but then as you bring it up, the object is getting split up into those different tiles. So it's just 2 different modes. And then if you click keep center, it's going to have the object in the center and those tiles are going to be behind it. So you've always got the object in the middle. One other thing to do with loading 3D files, you can use the rack to load them. So underneath all of your video slots, you've got these 5 slots for 3D objects. So I've loaded a few up here, and then as soon as I click this button, it's loaded that 3D object in here. And I've still got all my files that I previously loaded, so I can switch to them anytime I want. But if I want to go to a specific one, I can use this. It's just a bit easier than having to open up a folder and load it from there. So that's everything to do with the 3D module. Hopefully you found that of interest, and keep an eye on the channel for more ZwoBot tutorials coming soon.